it's another side that like wants to take more, and wants to go that one more round, because like going that one more round when you don't think you can, that's what makes all the difference in your life. You know what I mean?
Welcome to One More Round, the Rocky Series podcast. With me today, and this is going to be exciting to say, always, Katie and Kyle. How are you both doing this morning?
Good. Hey, I'm excited. I'm very excited. From the get-go, we get to cover the Rocky movies, so I'm good to go. How are you?
Good. Kyle, how are you feeling?
My back is hurting.
What do you mean your back's hurting?
Deaf? I said my back's hurting.
I'm short. I'm not deaf. Oh, boy. It's going to be a fun ride.
I like it.
And we want to welcome everyone that is in our Discord right now. We've got Donald, our faithful Donald. We've got Louise, of course. And we have Doug from Rocky Minute, who said he would just listen for a little bit before he has to bow out. But we want to invite everyone to join our live discussions, because during these reviews of the movie, as we go through the movies, Rockies 1 through 6, throughout this podcast, we want people's input as we discuss the movies, and we get some great insights from our listeners. Well, here we go, guys. This is One More Round, the Rocky Series podcast. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, what we're going to do is there's going to be 6 seasons, seasons 1 through 6, and they're going to cover the first and only Rocky films, Rockies 1 through 6. If you're asking yourself, well, what about the Creed films? Then I would invite you to go check out the podcast we did called Going the Distance, the Rocky Series podcast, where we did cover all 8 films. But the reason why we're doing the One More Round podcast is because Katie and Kyle, they are not just my co-hosts. I don't want to say that anymore because this is a new podcast. They are the co-hosts, or we are all equally co-hosts, a trilogy of hosts on this journey. And the One More Round just means we're all 3 of us together are going to cover these films that they themselves could not cover because they weren't around at the beginning of the original Rocky podcast. So that's the genesis of this podcast. If you're new to the show, that's what started here. But again, if you want to listen to the other episodes called Going the Distance, check it out and you can see how that journey started. For those who are listening to this for the first time, I think there's going to be a few, because I know there's people that stopped listening to Going the Distance when we started covering Creed. And I suspect some people are going to come back and listen to the Rocky coverage just because of their fandom, of course, of the Rocky films. Or we'll get new listeners because of the Rocky films. Katie, what does the Rocky films mean to you? And also, when did you become a fan?
Oh, geez, I wish I was prepared. I mean, Rocky means my childhood to me. It means, in addition to my parents, it was like, this is how men should treat women. Their love, Rocky and Adrian's love, that's what it means to me, is don't settle for anything less than that. The first movie I saw was Rocky IV, probably not even in 1985. It was probably 87 by the time we had it on VHS. So I was a small child. I'm one of 3 girls, so I ended up liking these movies probably because my dad did, and I fell in love with them and grown as a fan as I've become an adult. I see things differently. It's good to recover them now in the podcast.
Awesome. Kyle, what about you? How did your Rocky journey start?
Unfortunately, Katie stole kind of my experience anyway, so...
Sorry.
Yeah, Rocky reminds me of my childhood. With my age, I never saw most of the Rocky movies in the theater. In fact, I didn't see any of them in the theater until Rocky Balboa. We had them on VHS, and my mom really liked Rocky.
Mm-hmm.
She, of course, saw Rocky when it first came out. For instance, one time our family did a Rocky marathon where we watched all 5 films together, which is a bit of a slog, but it was like, I just have great memories there. And in terms of the actual films, I think Rocky spoke to me in the sense that he came from nowhere and made something of himself. Kind of gives you hope as an individual. You could be something that maybe that you're not if you're given an opportunity and if you put the work in. And that was kind of a male role model for me, I guess, as a kid in that way. So, and I see them a little bit differently now, but I especially have a passion for this film, the first one, most of all. I really, really like this as a film, whereas 2 through 5, I also really like, but in maybe a different way. They're more entertaining.
Sure.
Kind of emotionally, this one means more to me than the other ones.
Mhm.
Awesome.
What about you, Ryan?
I love the Rocky film so much. I saw the first Rocky film I saw in the theaters was Rocky 3. I have seen every film since then in the theaters that is a Rocky film. I just fell in love with the character. Of course, like you guys, it was, Rockies 3 and 4. That was my childhood. Those were the action-packed films. I remember being just a tad older, maybe between 11 and 13 when I saw the first Rocky film. And I remember that juxtaposition of, what am I watching here? This is not Hulk Hogan throwing around Rocky. This is not a scary Russian. Like, what's going on here? There's a more nuanced story happening here. And it wasn't until, of course, I got to my adult years where I love, of course, the first Rocky film the most. And anyone that says the first Rocky film is not the best Rocky film, they're idiots. And I mean that with all due respect, because you could have a love for the nostalgic. Rocky 4 is your first film. I get it. It's a fun film. It's easy to digest. That's usually the one that people go to. Even Rocky 2 people like, because Rocky, spoiler, Rocky wins the belt in part 2. Can you imagine listening to this episode? You didn't know that. Anyway, all those things I get, though they're all valid reasons to like, but Rocky, the first film, how it was created, the story that Sly created it under, just everything, the guerrilla style filming, just the characters coming to their own so quickly. Everything that we just love about the characters, the genesis all starts with the first Rocky film. So it has to be the best one. There's other parts of other films that are maybe even more fun to watch at times. I get it. But at the end of the day, the first Rocky film, it's the best. And we are going to cover all 6, and they all have amazing things in it that I love. Every one of them makes me tear up for different reasons. Every one of them. All right, here we go. You guys ready to start the scroll? Here we go.
Very, yep.
That theme right there, I talked to, if you haven't, go check out my Go in the Distance Bill Conti interview. That theme right there, that's actually was not written for Rocky.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
But yeah, that little trumpet theme was actually written a long time ago. But Bill kind of like Quentin Tarantino'd the song, so to speak. He took a song that was already written and put it here. So he thematically composed the song, so to speak. This is a good opening sequence for the title scroll.
Kind of reminds me of the piano outro for Layla by Eric Clapton, how it was used in Goodfellas.
Yes.
And that wasn't meant for Goodfellas, but to me, those two are inseparable now. I always think of Goodfellas when I hear that
and
music.
Ave Maria for Godfather. It's used in quite a few mob movies, I think, which is ironic. It's also like this. So the scroll has that trumpet, and then we're shown Jesus. We don't know where we are yet. And it's just the first image that we're shown, this Catholic Jesus. We're in a church.
This is my kind of Sunday.
Yeah. Hey.
First off, the title scroll, isn't it an amazing idea? Has it ever been done that way or before that, where you literally get the name of the film scrolling right to left? It's so big, it doesn't even fit on the screen at the same time.
Who's Rocky? Right? Like if you're watching this in 1976, who? What is this? And then you see Jesus there for what? You must know it's a boxing film when you buy the ticket back then.
I guess you'd have to know that much. Have you seen the original trailer for this film?
It's the worst trailer I've ever seen in my life. It was basically a summary of the entire film. It ruins it.
Oh, no, really?
It's masterful in the sense that in the minute or two that it occurs, it beautifully covers the entire storyline such that you actually don't need to watch the movie, essentially. like it gives you the full meal instead of like a little taste to make you want to see it. I don't know what they were thinking.
We got some Discord chat, actually. People are wondering if we're going to do the novelization along with the... No, we will not be doing the novelization. That's from Doug from Rocky Minute, because for their season 1, when they covered Rock, not only did they break down the film minute by minute, but they actually went through the novelization and picked up all the differences between Sly quote unquote wrote the novelization. So there's like a lot of backstory and things that we don't see. Very interesting, but no, we're sticking to the film canon. Yeah.
Go to Rocky Minute for that. That's
perfect. There's your plug.
Yeah.
They did it so I don't have to. Donald wants us to break down the spelling of Del Rio. Oh, that might be a good idea. Okay. Seriously, though, what does the Jesus character mean to you guys before we pan down to Rocky fighting? What is the symbolism there, do you think?
It gives us a real interesting introduction to Rocky's environment. Specifically, it shows the decay that he lives in. 1975 is the post-industrial America, and it's an awkward transition to where these cities like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or New York that were once these great big industrial cities are moving away from that. And a lot of people are left behind. You have all these neighborhoods in Philadelphia that are just garbage now. They're once solid white middle-class neighborhoods, kind of like Detroit is now.
It's coming back, but I knew what you meant. Like 10 years ago, maybe.
It's coming back now. In 1975, that Philadelphia is in decay. A lot of the East Coast is in decay. You see this church that was probably once this center of the community. It's now cheap, shitty boxing matches. When you see this scene, everything is really gritty. Everything doesn't look good. You kind of just see like this place Rocky's in, and it says all that without having to actually say it.
It shows who he is. You know, we haven't seen him yet, but so he's probably Irish or Italian, Catholic. There's a darkness to the movie. So he's fighting in a church basement. But yeah, he's clearly in a neighborhood that is either Irish or Italian or both, likely.
I think that's a resurrected Jesus there because he's holding communion. So that would be representation of a resurrected Christ figure. You could argue Rocky is sort of the Jesus figure in the storyline, that his life is about to be resurrected. Rocky is 30. So you could also argue that Christ's ministry began at the age of 30, and now Rocky's journey has begun at the age of 30.
Very much like it. I would bet you that Sylvester would say, we now going back are putting more thought into it than he did originally, probably.
I can guarantee you he didn't think that when they had this scene here. But
I like it.
I think that's really relevant. That's the thing about this film is that you can get out of it what you want to.
Well, that's art. Yeah, absolutely. That's art. So we do know the gym is called the Resurrection Gym. It was intentional for Sly when he wrote the film that is the opening. That's an intentional part of Sly. Sly is Catholic, and he was very religious, and I think he is very religious today. So that Catholic Italian upbringing, I would suspect there's a correlation between the ministry of Jesus at the age of 30 and Rocky's journey at the age of 30.
Is this a gym? I always thought it was a church. They're fighting in a church basement.
I thought it was a church it used to be a church at one point, and then it was gutted and turned into a gym, and then this Jesus thing here is a leftover of that.
Kyle, you're right, is that it was once an old church. And a lot of churches, when they kind of run out of money or parishioners or what have you, they can sell the building to somebody else to take over basically the rent. The boxing took over. I mean, they liked the idea, the motif up there, Resurrection Gym.
Interesting. I always thought it was in the basement of a church.
This church would have been something someone went to every Sunday. This was probably a really nice neighborhood in the 50s.
Well, and don't forget, we're coming up on it, that there's that locker room scene. So there's no way there's those type of lockers in an active church. But
yeah. I always wondered how that was. So yeah, makes sense. I was wrong.
Okay, so we're going to continue. Now we're going to pan down to the two boxers fighting in the ring. And yeah, like Kyle was saying, if you're watching this for the first time, and let's say you never saw a trailer and you just went into this blind, you might not even know who Rocky is in the ring, right? Which character are we, until of course it goes to Rocky's corner. But you get the point that at this point it's pretty ambiguous as to what's going on. That's actually a great shot there when it went from the Christ motif painting and it goes down to the ring of them fighting and it continues to pull backwards. That's actually a great one shot through the crowd. And now we're seeing the fight from the crowd aspect. That's all a single take. So really good John G. Alvinson take there of that kind of a crane shot there.
And it's so dark. The whole movie.
I love how people are throwing garbage in the ring, right?
No.
This is a rough place. These are really rough blue-collar people. If you're watching this movie and you're from like a middle-class environment, this is foreign to you. This is a very hostile, dark, not nice place.
So someone's yelling, "Referee, why don't you stop the fight?" Is it really going that poorly? I don't know. It looks like there's more action going on here than in some of these HBO fights we see nowadays.
Yeah.
Well, that guy probably bet on Spider, right?
Yeah. He's like, stop it already. After you said that, Kyle, I hate saying this because it hurts my heart to even think about it. But nowadays, or like from the 80s or 90s through whatever period, dogfighting, underground type betting, cockfighting, dogfighting, whatever. This is sort of an underground illegal betting situation. It's a rough, I would never go, yet to your point, it is foreign to someone. It's a rough place.
So So, of course, Rocky, as we know, is fighting Spider Rico, the character Spider Rico, which is amazing that he even shows up later in the films. Now, did you know that Spider Rico was played by a real boxer?
Yes.
I think I did know that. Yeah.
Kyle, do you know anything off the top of your head you'd like to talk about regarding the Spider Rico played by Pedro Lovell?
I don't know anything about him as a fighter. I don't know his record. I'm assuming he wasn't that prominent of one.
He had a professional record of 23 fights, 18 wins, 14 wins by knockout, and 3 losses, 2 draws.
What weight class was he?
He would have been a heavyweight. He was 6'3".
That's interesting, though, because Rocky Sylvester would never be a heavyweight. So, like, they make him seem bigger. He's a heavyweight in the movies, but in real life, his body is, like, he's not big enough to be a heavyweight.
Pedro was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina. These were his names: the LA Bomber, One Punch, and the Knockout King, and also Spider Rico, I guess, after this film. So he was a professional fighter, had some notoriety. He was actually appeared in the Ring magazine and on television. His knockouts were impressive, and he actually had a televised fight with Ken Norton.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. Ken Norton's no joke. He had a fight trilogy with Ali. He broke Muhammad Ali's jaw in their first fight. Ken Norton, if he fought in a different era, would have been heavyweight champion.
Well, Spider actually went 3 rounds with Norton, or actually for the first 3 rounds with Ken Norton, it was pretty competitive back and forth, but 4th and 5th round, Norton took control and ended up knocking out Spider Rico in the 5th round.
There's no shame in that. I guess he's more prominent than I thought he was. Wow, that is impressive.
We're seeing here early in the film franchise already Sly casting real boxers to spar with. And one reason why he chose a real boxer, and in particular Pedro or Spider Rico, is that he could really box in the ring. He wanted to throw punches at somebody who knew how to look like a boxer at the beginning of the fight or beginning of the movie. Sly said also that he liked the idea that he could punch. Again, he wanted to really punch somebody in the ring to make it look more realistic, and he knew that a boxer could take those semi-hard punches. He wanted to actually contact the face and the body that we see. Yeah. A boxer could handle that, and Pedro was more than willing to do that.
Smart.
I just find it interesting. That's just always been Sly at the very beginning with these Rocky films. Be as realistic as you can, take the hits that you can, and just put yourself in that physical arena right away. So kudos to Pedro for doing that.
From what we see in the fight so far, Rocky gets punched in the face and is constantly clinching his opponent, which you do if you want to avoid them. If like you're in a desperate situation and want to clear your head, what you do is you clinch. You stop them from hitting you and you give yourself a rest. You can kind of reset the action there. People hate it when you clinch, though. People hate that. Fans hate it when you clinch, right? Because they want to see fighting. And he's constantly clinching, which people don't like. That's one of the reasons why people are booing so much. Like, it doesn't seem like a very competitive fight. You're just seeing a guy get punched and clinching constantly.
Is it the hugging thing? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, when they hug like that, it's called a clinch. So Rocky's constantly clinching him like that. That's not entertaining for a boxing fan to watch. Like, you see Rocky's really bad at fighting here. You see he's very unskilled. At this point, he's completely outclassed by Spider Rico.
You outclassed the bum.
So they allow the holding. The ref is just sort of half-assed, kind of trying to be like, hey, break it up, guys. But he's holding.
Well, yeah, like Spider's clinching him there, and he's trying to hit him while they're clinched, which very amateurish type of fighting, right? You don't really see that in pro fights, or you shouldn't, at least. And that ref, I don't blame him for not really getting in, because he's probably worried about being punched in the face.
He's an old man.
Although Rocky's using his right hand a lot here to hit.
Well, it looks like he's like holding him with his left hand and hitting him with his right hand. That's why.
Yeah, I don't think he's doing a lot of damage with these hits, though. Like I think it's mostly hitting Spider's arm and stuff. Like it's just really bad fighting. This is a great scene in the sense that you get a picture that Rocky's not like a really good pro, and so for later in the film when he's offered a shot by Creed, you really get the sense that it's a long shot.
Yeah, yeah, it's a long shot. Right? Yeah, so they're clumsily fighting. I was actually thinking about, you go on YouTube all the time, you see these backyard boxing matches or they're not sanctioned by any committee. They're just, hey, let's, you know, like, I don't know how to describe it, but, you know, put on some boxing gloves and they just kind of come out swinging. You know, these two guys will just come out haymakers swinging. That's kind of what we're getting here in some ways. It's Kyle was saying, kind of amateurish, not any real style or dancing in the ring. They're just punching and sort of blocking.
Ham and eggers?
Well, especially Rocky. Spider Rico is doing fine.
Right.
Like, he's throwing really good jabs, and looks like decent footwork. And of course, because he's a real boxer, right? Like, they probably gave him some leeway to actually fight properly. But then Rocky, he fights like a goddamn ape.
I wonder if they'll come up again.
Are they wearing boxer shorts? They look like boxer shorts rolled up.
The trunks nowadays are much larger and bigger. It's almost same with basketball, right? Like, they have those really big trunks. And then if you look at basketball in the 80s or the 70s, they have the really short ones. And boxing's kind of similar that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I much prefer the 70s and 80s style.
So the bell rings. We're not sure what round that might have been. Probably, they look pretty tired and beaten up already.
It's the second round.
Is it just the second?
Because at least it could be the first or the second, because that guy's got to come up to him just now and say, "Did you bet the fight don't go 3 rounds?"
That's right. That's right.
Oh, no. That was the first round, because Rocky says later, he said KO in the second. So this was just the first round here.
Okay.
Give the sucker some action.
So he's got this corner man, and we know this corner man, he's there for every fight. That's his job. His job is to...
That corner is his...
Yeah.
Whoever's in that corner.
Yeah, Spider Rico's corner man is whoever happens to be in Spider Rico's corner. But we're getting this guy, you can tell that the relationship between Rocky and Cornerman is zero. Rocky's listening to the advice. Now, I'm not saying the Cornerman is giving bad advice. He might be giving legit advice because he sees 1,000 fights. But he's like, you're waltzing, give the sucker some action. Rocky's responses to each of his things from this corner man just have nothing to do with what he's being told.
Yeah, he's tuning him out. That corner man seems annoyed with him. He doesn't respect his fighting and stuff. He probably just hates his job because it's a shitty job. But
it's probably that too. Well, I think everyone here, right? This corner man probably wishes he was a corner man for a pro fight, right? The announcer probably wishes he was an announcer for a pro fight.
Yeah.
And I think Spider Rico was the only one who kind of had any real ambition to get beyond this resurrection gym fighting.
I'm guessing this is 10 at night or something. They have these starting probably at 7 or 8 p.m. or 9, whatever fight time starts. So everybody has like a full-time job, so they work all day, and then they do this afterwards into the wee hours of the night, likely, just like a grind.
Yeah, I think actually Spider Rico could be a has-been, because when Rocky's in the bar later, that guy's playing pool, and he's like, "Who'd you fight?" And he's like, "Spider Rico." And he's like, "Is he still around?"
Yeah, so maybe they both have been trying to get out. But you can tell Rocky, well, we'll find out Rocky, he's literally doing this for his meal ticket. This is his pay for groceries or pay for the beer in the fridge.
He has his collector job, right? I think he makes more doing that.
He's terrible at that.
Yeah, a lot of boss like.
Yeah, Gazel likes it. Yeah, Gazel likes him more than the corner man here. He's getting a lot of bum talk. A lot of bum fight, you bums. And then this corner man says, "You're fighting like a bum." It's like a lot of...
Yeah. Was bum, is it just like a Rocky thing, or was bum like a real put down in the 70s?
I think it might have been a combination of location and time. It might have been an Eastern States thing. I was born in 75, and I'm younger than Sly by 30 years almost. But the point is that in the 80s, no one ever said it, bums were people that were homeless. Yes, we'd say you're a bum, you're homeless, you're hobo. It's an insult for sure, but it's thrown around so much in these movies. So is it a Philly thing? Possibly. It must be, obviously, because it was written that way.
I agree with you, Ryan. I think it's a location and time thing.
Yeah.
This time, in this location, in this part of town, this neighborhood, that's how people spoke.
Do you want to start a bum count? I think.
Oh my God, it's
a Rocky series bum count. Well, we've already got 3. It's been shouted from the crowd at least twice. Let's just give a shout out from the crowd twice. Starting now, this is a new thing for the show. We're going to do a bum count. Kyle, do you want to handle the bums?
I have my notebook here.
Okay, we've got 3 bums.
So we're up to 3 now?
At least 3. At least 3.
Finance person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going for it. I will be the official bum recorder.
Okay. Oh, yeah. What are we doing over under right now? How many times do you think bum will be said for the first Rocky film? Come up with a number. We'll give it to Kyle, and then we'll see who's closest. And you can be over or under. It doesn't matter. There's no... I hate that it can't go over crap. Just whoever's the closest.
I'm going to say 225.
225 bums? No. Are you serious?
Yeah. Probably.
I'm going to say 56.
I think Katie just has bum on her mind. Rocky's bum. Yeah, it's not how many times we see Rocky's bum, Katie. It's how many times we hear the word bum.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, I'm going to go with 36.
Okay.
There's going to be 36 like in one episode.
And we're
Anywho.
at 3 right now. We have Ryan at 36, Katie 225, Kyle 56.
Yeah, this is the first episode. If you want to send us an email, I've actually created a new email for this show. So the email, the new email is one more round Rocky Podcast at gmail.com. That's one more round Rocky Podcast at gmail.com. Send us an email. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know if we're off to a good start or not. And let us know your bum count for Rocky without watching the film accounting. So I guess it's an honor system, you know. Let us know.
For clarity, one is spelled out, Ryan?
Yes, it's O-N-E, yes. And I'll put in all the show notes. It's going to be linked in the show notes too. Okay. All right, so the corner man says, you're fighting like a bum. Want some advice?
Bum. Want some advice?
What?
I love this. Rocky hears the question. He's just asking for water.
Bear, go bear here, catch your bear. Come on.
Rock, I bet the fight don't go 3 rounds. You feel strong?
Go bear, go.
I love that guy. You feeling strong? The fight won't go 3 rounds. So he's betting that Rocky won't take it past 3 rounds. So he's one of Rocky's first fans, maybe.
I don't know about fan, but he's like just trying to make a buck.
Are you able to do mid-match betting?
No, but this is a church in some neighborhood in Philly in the 70s, so yes. I could see this happening here, but if you went down to Vegas or something like that, I'm not a gambling expert. I think it's safe to say mid-match betting, any reputable institution would not be accepted.
They might have like side bets with just like randos also that aren't through this gym system.
The fact that you're talking to a guy too, although you are betting for him. See, if he spoke to Rocky and then betted against him and Rocky lost, he'd probably get accused of taking a dive, right?
Oh, there you go, yeah. These fights do count, though. I think. Don't these fights count for Rocky's career with those numbers that we hear?
Yes.
They do. I don't know how. I don't know how.
You got to figure there's a guy with his notepad, too, taking numbers, Kyle. There's a guy with his notepad in the corner somewhere. They have these numbers that are horrible numbers that Rocky has for his career. Before he became the heavyweight champion, his numbers were horrible.
Yeah, well, he overall had a positive. He won more than he lost, but yeah, certainly anyone challenging the champion wouldn't have. Rocky lost 20 fights and won 30 something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's not the greatest record. There's some room for improvement there.
If you want to put down Louise, since he's one of our faithful listeners, he says he's going to go 46 bumps. He's going 46 bumps.
Wow,
Everyone except Katie's ending in
super
6.
high.
Say that again, Katie?
I'm so sorry. I said I'm super high.
Are you also?
Because you live in Colorado.
Yeah, I was going to say because you live in Colorado. Yeah.
I'm actually a mile high, but yeah. Also, we were the first to legalize weed, I think.
Nice.
Aren't we? Yeah, first. in
Probably one of the first states. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they're selling cold beer here as well. Someone's yelling, "Cold beer! Get your cold beer!" I love it.
Want some good advice?
So he asks again. The cornerman actually asks again. To his credit, he goes, "You want some good advice?" And then, of course, Rocky's response, "Mouthpiece."
Wow, I think it's rhetorical. I think he said step into it. Yeah, it was his advice.
So if this is one round, yeah, Rocky's already very winded.
He smokes and drinks and eats donuts. So, I mean.
Good point.
Yeah, and he's been taking some hits too. When I spar in karate, we'll have a 1 minute round. And these boxing rounds are 3 minutes. After a minute, I'm pretty tired. Fighting takes up way more energy than you would think it would. Plus, I'm like out of shape too, so that also factors in. But still.
But yeah, you're right. When you exercise to a certain degree, a single minute can seemingly last forever.
Look at Sly's build here. It's kind of chiseled, a little bit lean.
Yeah, I was noticing that too. But in other scenes, he doesn't really look very cut.
This was actually the last scene filmed. Sly said he lost a lot of weight, and this was at the end of the filming. These sequences here were the last things filmed for the movie, was this opening sequence. So the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. And Sly's a little thinner here, and a little bit more cut, because he's just he was a little bit bigger and bulkier and maybe had a little bit more girth on him beginning of the film. So yeah, he's a little bit leaner here. It's the end of filming.
Very, yeah, interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because I was just looking at him now like, I don't remember him being so...
A little bit more cut, yeah.
I always find that weird. I know they have to film out of order for practical purposes. To me, it takes a bit of the magic away when you find something like that out.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're going to do on this show, folks. If you're going to join us in the one more round, we are here to take away the magic. Kyle's like, Ryan, you're take away my magic. Sorry. Another bit of background here. So a lot of the voices you're hearing is actually crew too, like just people from the crew. They didn't have money for extras. So a lot of the ADR you're hearing is actually people heckling or just film crew, people heckling.
They're doing a great job. They're doing an excellent job. Sounds like real rough heckler people from 1970s Philadelphia.
You'll notice here, this is the only time you'll see Rocky half block his face. He's got his left arm up, so he's kind of blocking his face. That's amazing. Spider headbutts Rocky, of course, and it sets Rocky off. I've noticed watching this fight closely here that we never really get any kind of clear shot of Spider's face. I don't know if that was intentional, but his face is shadowed the lighting on Pedro's face, who plays Spider Rico, it's just shadowed the whole time. We never get a clear shot of his face until the locker room scene.
I think you see his face more when he gets knocked out.
Oh, that's right, when he's lying on the mat, yeah.
But yeah, you don't see much of him. And I don't know why he headbutted Rocky. Like sometimes you might be tempted to headbutt when you're losing the fight, and that kind of maybe you do that in desperation to turn it around, kind of like Mike Tyson's ear bite back in the 90s. But Spider is clearly in control of the fight. And surely if he wouldn't have headbutted Rocky, he would have won.
We needed it for the movie.
Right.
I think he's just a dick. That's what I always thought. Like he just headbutted there to be nasty.
Well, we learned in Creed 2, in his funeral scene, Rocky says that he was the only fighter he knew dirtier than him.
There you go. Yeah, we're seeing that now. I think it's also it shows two things. I think exactly, Katie. It shows that this is even though these numbers count for for your professional record, this is kind of not a very well-regulated institution. We've got betting mid-rounds. We've got people throwing garbage. We've got headbutting without the disqualifications happening. The ref doesn't really break up the clinching. So we're just showing this is just not an all holds barred or no holds barred boxing, but it's not very well regulated or sanctioned here. Though it's officially, I guess it does count towards the records. But it also shows, the second thing it shows is that Rocky has not a mean streak, but he has a rage button that when he wants to get angry or when he wants to hulk up a little bit. So now he's angry. So we see now what happens when Rocky does turn it on. And this plays into, of course, later in the movie that he has a switch where he can become quote unquote powerful, not as passive. He can switch.
Part of that too is Rocky probably at this point in his own head a lot. He's probably experiencing some self-doubt, especially when you're losing a fight or something like that. You wonder if you can catch up. Your confidence is low. But then if someone does something like that to headbutt you, the rage takes over.
Yeah.
The anger takes over. And that drowns out all that other stuff in your head. The adrenaline goes way up, so you're stronger. And then you're focused now. That anger focuses you. And Rocky, when he's focused, his true talent and abilities come out. And he easily dispatches a Spider Rico, because in reality, he outclasses Spider. He just doesn't know it.
Such a good point, Kyle.
Kyle's like, finally, after all these episodes, I said something.
No, he's the only one that actually knows what he's talking about.
I figured out I'm the one that uploads the episodes and edits everything, and Kyle's the brains, and Katie's the beauty. That's our combination here.
Katie's pretty smart.
We're all pretty smart in different ways. How about that?
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, it's true. I love it.
Ryan's the heart and soul of the podcast, though. That's a fact.
No.
Indeed.
It's a fact. We have some Canadian humility there, but that's
all right, we're gonna play the movie. Let's keep going. All right, so Rocky's gonna go turn on a rage mode here. Look at that. The referee did point his finger. Did you see that? The referee pointed his finger and scoring at Spider Rico. I've never noticed that before. Did you catch that?
I guess I've never watched this fight so closely before, but yeah.
Spider got a stern talking to. Don't you do that. Don't you headbutt.
Hey now.
It's like the referees in wrestling when they scorn you for bringing the chair out and hitting someone. You can't hit people in the back of the head with chairs. Stop it. And nothing happens really, but yeah. Oh, and the guy that bet on Rocky's really upset. Did you see that? He's really...
Because usually a cut like that could stop the fight, right?
That's right.
Well, not in Rocky movies.
And really, Spider could get disqualified for that. If you intentionally headbutt and cut someone and they lose the fight, if the headbutt's intentional, then it's a disqualification. But if the headbutt's accidental, then it's not a DQ. You just lose. But that was clearly an intentional headbutt. But the ref's like, okay, I went to the Lou Filippo School of Refereeing, and you're still alive, so keep going.
Yeah.
The outfit looks like a prison uniform.
Yeah. Do you think that guy's dead now? The guy that played the referee?
Absolutely.
Spider Rico drew first blood. Mm-hmm. And Rocky's about... Yeah, I like that. And Rocky is about to go angry. And that's always a brutal scene there. The straddling of your opponent and just punching him down on the canvas. Now that's MMA. You're allowed to do that in MMA. MMA fighting right there. UFC, great. You could do boxing, Kyle. You're the boxing guy. Can you straddle your opponent and punch him on the canvas?
I gotta say no.
There's like a 30-second delay for the ref. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing? Stop."
Yeah, I think basically the ref's thinking, well, Spider seemed to be knocked out cold prior to Rocky straddling and punching him, so we're just going to call it a win.
Donald said that Rocky invented UFC. Yeah, you heard it here, folks. Yeah. It actually did become a UFC fight. I don't think you're allowed to headbutt in UFC either, though. This is all over the place. But yeah,
no.
The straddling of your opponent, punching him, totally UFC allowed until the ref comes in. But yeah, the referee was late on stopping this because of the school that he comes from. What's the name of that referee again?
The Lou Filippo School of Boxing Referee.
You're not allowed to headbutt in MMA, UFC?
No.
No? Okay.
I wonder how much money that guy won. He seemed very happy that he got his bet.
Like $30 or something, probably.
I love this part coming up. So they announced the next round of fighters. Do you remember what they were, Kyle?
Sugar somebody is the second guy.
There's a Kid Brooks.
There's one of those things that if I think about it enough, I can figure it out. Sugar Jensen, I think, is the second guy. I can't remember the first guy.
Okay, we'll find out. I love the announcer. I just love his voice. All right. I just love that.
Yeah.
And there's booing.
All right. Next, the sixth rounder between local lightweights, Kid Brooks and Sugar Johnson.
Johnson's so close. I remember being shocked when I saw this. They don't even announce the winner, really. Or maybe he does, and it's just loud and we don't hear it. But it's so, again, like it's just showing us this world. It's like, who cares? Get out of here. We're not even going to clean the trash off of the mat. Next people in, you're out. I just remember being kind of shocked watching that.
You never see that ever, right? When would you see that? Like any boxing on TV wouldn't be like that.
Yeah.
Any sporting event you may have seen live, you wouldn't see people throwing trash. Like I said, this is totally foreign to most people.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think that individual walking now, do you think that's Kid Brooks or Sugar Johnson? Which one?
Sugar Johnson.
Well, I've never seen a white fighter with the sugar in his name.
White Sugar. You never know. It could be White Sugar.
Also, the last name is kind of a giveaway, too. Yeah. So somebody said, "Good job, champ." Did somebody say "Good job, champ"? Okay.
This guy, they smoking the cigarette, and Rocky asked, "Hey, can I bum a cigarette off of you?" That was Sly's friend in real life, who's now passed away. I forget his name, Ray something, but that was He got some of his friends to be in the movie. You know, hey, do you want to be in the movie?
Hey, what? You got a smoke? Yeah, you gotta have this one.
All right, Kyle, there you go. You're a bum, says a woman.
I ticked it down, faithfully ticked it out. She's gonna say it again too.
Yeah, she does. She does say it twice.
You're a bum. You know that? You're a bum.
3 times. She says it 3 times. Wow.
We're up to 7 now. We're up to 7 bums.
In the first 5 minutes, guys. Also, Rocky asks that guy for a cigarette. He has a fresh one in his ear.
Oh.
But he doesn't give Rocky the fresh one. He gives him the one he's already started smoking, and then he takes the fresh one and starts smoking it. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
I'd be pissed.
Yeah,
I'm like, give me this used cigarette, you rando, and I have to smoke your grossness?
Yeah, but beggars can't be
You know
choosers.
what? Yeah, exactly. You got a free smoke.
I guess.
It's already lit for you.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
Now, I love how later in the film, Rocky complains about how much change he's had stolen from that locker because he never kept it locked, but this one's not locked.
Yeah, true.
And this robe that he's wearing too, the Italian stallion with the Italian stallion stencils on the back, this literally looks like a bathrobe. It literally looks like an actual bathrobe.
Like terry cloth. Yes.
Well, to be fair, he doesn't wear it out to the fight at all, which is weird.
No, I thought that too.
You know, he keeps it in the locker room, so it almost functions like a bathrobe. Like it just keeps him warm.
So Spider already beat him to the change room, and it looks like he's lying down drinking a beer. And this is where his voice is so funny. He sounds so different here than he does in the Rocky Balboa film. I can never figure it out. I know it's, decades later, but Sly still kind of sounds like Sly, right? The voice that we hear from Pedro right now, it sounds like Andre the Giant. I don't know how to describe it. You really got lucky there tonight.
Like growing up, I couldn't understand what he said there. I almost sounded like Ducky or something like that. I don't know when he came to America because English would have been his second language or something. He sounds weird, but
it's not just the accent. It sounds like he's deaf.
Mm-hmm. And he even like his face and hair kind of from far away kind of looks like it too. I thought the same as Kyle, like perhaps his accent got less noticeable 40 years, being in America for longer. It is a strange sounding person.
Hey, you really got lucky tonight.
Spotty didn't lose his share. $40. Let's
All right, so I
He
love
sounded pretty normal. It just sounded like an accent there.
because you're reading the captions, so you knew what he was saying.
Oh, okay.
yeah, you're right, Ryan. I always get so sad at how much money they take from these guys.
Right now, the guy's coming in, the money guy's coming in. He says, okay, $40, less 15 locker and corner man. That's expensive for nightly.
I remember I found one of my grandpa's old pay stubs from 1972. He made $5.25 an hour, and I was like, "Holy shit!" But then when I put it in the inflation calculator, it was like $40 or something.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So I'll put 1975,
Sure,
because that's the year, and then 2022, 5.23 is the factor. So $40 is $209 today.
Okay, so you got $209 was the gross, but they took out how much for the locker and so they are paying the corner man. They're paying the corner man out of the winners or losers' pocket here.
Yeah,
They both pay the corner man and locker, whether you win or lose.
Yeah,
Right.
Well, they each have their own corner man.
Oh, that's right. Duh.
So what's $15 now? Today's money.
$78.
That leaves Spider Rico with how much money total?
They have 7% tax. He's not done yet.
Right. So sorry, $5 shower.
That'd be like $25.
You have to knock off tax, 7% tax.
percent tax. Comes to 7.
Oh, sorry, 1720. They've already done it for us. So what's 1720 total now? That's what he gets. So we should have waited till the outcome there.
You got $90.
$90. It is really expensive. I actually kind of question that. So like $25 for a shower? No.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, they're
No way.
milking him here. This is a sketchy outfit for sure.
The margins here for this gym are pretty high.
You fought a good fight, Spider.
I like how this guy says, he fought a good fight, Spider. Hey, it's not bad. Basically, he made $90 for between the getting to the venue, fighting, and coming out. Maybe an hour's. So maybe it's okay money if you think about hour or two of activity between fighting, showering, and everything else. He makes $40 an hour in 2 hours. But you're not doing that full time. That's the problem.
Yeah, and
You
he
get
took
beat up.
physical punishment too, right? That takes its toll.
One of the things I thought was, or maybe they'll get to it, I guess. So I'll comment on it later.
Okay.
You get winner's share, $65. That's $15 locker and corner man, $5 shower and towel, and 7% tax. Comes to $40.55.
The $65 is $339, and then the $40.55 net is $211.
So not bad for winners, but that's one night's work. Between that and his collecting, he's doing okay. Like he can afford an apartment and he can afford, beer, but that's about it.
When he did that job later in the film, collecting from Bob, where he's supposed to break his thumb, you see Gazzo give him a 20 there, which is $100. So if he did one of those a day, he's fine.
Yeah.
Like, he's not living large or anything like that. And then if he does maybe one fight every couple weeks, okay, yeah, it pays the bills. His apartment, we'll see, is probably not very high rent. He's probably living paycheck to paycheck type of thing.
Oh,
He says
worse
he's
than paycheck to paycheck. I mean, it's not like he gets like an actual paycheck, but he, like, yes, he's not even able to like buy normal food.
When do I fight again?
Maybe 2 weeks.
So there you go. So maybe 2 weeks. So that's $200 every 2 weeks. So he's making $100 a week.
Now, the doctor's going to come look at his eye. I bet you that's not for free.
Well, that's what I was going to comment on. He said the doctor will be in. I am surprised that they don't include that in the count. They probably both get seen by a doctor. Why is the shower so expensive, but they don't note, will you owe the doctor X amount?
Good point. You could argue maybe it's just part of the fees already, or they're in Canada and it's socialist medicine.
They are not in Canada.
Oh. Give me a call. The doctor should be in about 20 minutes.
I wonder what the Spider and Rocky talked about for 20 minutes, sitting next to each other, waiting for the doctor to come in.
Yeah, that weird, awkward silence.
That's the time they could have showered and changed. Sorry, Katie?
You're right, but it is strange. I remember thinking that when I watched this, I'm like, oh, they have the opponents in the same place. It seems odd, too. Again, it's just showing us like the low rent style here.
Little did we know the next time we're going to see Spider Rico was going to be in the restaurant at Adrian's. Crazy.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Right here, I love this scene. This would be a good caption right here. Rocky thinking about retiring, opening up a restaurant, and Spider Rico washing dishes in the future. There you go.
I think this is a really good scene where it shows him like this, because you can feel the hopelessness. If you're in this situation, you probably really feel like you're going nowhere fast. You're hurting now. The adrenaline's worn off. You just did all this for peanuts. You're going to probably your shitty day job, whatever that is. If you're Spider, we know what Rocky's doing. You really get a sense when you're watching this film that Rocky's not living a good life at all.
All right, so we're going to stop there. It's perfect. That actually is what they call a cold open. Other than the Rocky scroll, no credits for the filmmakers or stars or writing, producing. None of that stuff has happened. That'll be our next episode where we talk about the opening credits to the movie, and also Rocky entering his apartment. We'll break down what he has going on there, and we'll go from there. But there you go, guys. That's a really powerful, interesting opening to a movie, don't you think? Where, especially in 76, I know a lot of films back then, they didn't do cold opens quite like that, I don't think.
Well, you don't see it for Rocky 2. You have the recap of the first fight, but then when he's doing the ambulance ride to the hospital, you see all the credits, like the traditional opening.
Different directors. Yeah, this was really well directed. I just can't get over the darkness. I don't really remember that. Now that we're watching it so closely, it's so depressing. I mean, we're supposed to think that, but it's just depressing.
It's a gritty place, obviously, in a gritty time. The 70s, you see almost everything from the 70s, especially out east. It's crumbling. The golden age was kind of the 40s and the 50s. California is the opposite. California is rising and coming up in the 70s. Mm-hmm. Everything's new. But places like Philadelphia, these industrial centers, they're in decay. They have to reinvent themselves in the coming decades. But right now, it's not a nice transition, and you see that everywhere.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us on our first episode of One More Round, the Rocky Series podcast. Send us an email, join us on Twitter, Facebook, all those things, Discord channel, watch us live when we record. Everything is in the description of every episode if you don't know where to look. Well, the episode's over.
I didn't hear no bell.
I just want to